Doom Eternal has a wide variety of weapons and weapon mods. Luckily, most, if not all of them, are actually pretty well balanced. You could potentially use any weapon and mod combination and be able to confidently complete the game on Ultra Nightmare. The game also features a few get out of jail free cards in the form of the BFG and the Crucible Sword, both of which can cause a lot of damage in any arena. But that leaves a certain weapon that has an amazing name, looks pretty good, has great lore potential behind it, and has an entire game mechanic where you have to find secret keys just to unlock it. So you would imagine that this weapon would have to be extremely powerful. And this weapon is? Yes, the Unmaker. Just by looking at the gun within the Fortress of Doom, you could tell that this weapon was going to be something special. But after acquiring it, it was nothing short of a massive disappointment. So let's briefly talk about the Unmaker and compare it against the BFG and see how it holds up. So first of all, both the Unmaker and the BFG share the same ammo pool, which is called Argent Cells. The Unmaker fires 3 projectiles at a time that are spaced equally and horizontally. Each time you use it, it uses 1 ammo. It's actually not too bad when you compare it to the BFG, where 1 BFG shot consumes exactly 30 Argent Cells. And since you have a maximum of 60 ammo capacity, this means that you can only use the BFG twice. So for example, if you're sitting at, let's say, 29 ammo, then guess what? You can't use the BFG at all. But the destructive potential of the BFG is unmatched by any other weapon in this game, even more so than the Sentinel Hammer, also known as the Anvil Hammer. When you fire the BFG in any given direction, the projectile will have tendrils that will latch onto nearby enemies and deal significant damage to them. If the projectile hits a demon directly, it does even more bonus damage. So enemies like the fodder and the heavy demons are destroyed near instantly, where super heavies take a lot of damage. But that's not the best part. The best part about the BFG is the added crowd control effect that stuns enemies while the projectile is active, which completely stops them dead in their tracks and prevents them from doing any ability while the BFG projectile is nearby. Now let's compare that to the Unmaker. The Unmaker deals significant single target damage, and I believe it is the highest single target damage weapon in the game. Unfortunately, it does not have any crowd control effect on it, so you'll have to use either ice bomb or frag grenades to prevent super heavy demons from attacking you. So, as I said earlier, the Unmaker has a lot of potential to be unique compared to the rest of the arsenal. So, of course, as you would expect from a video from me, I'm going to provide some constructive feedback and an idea on how to improve this weapon. So in order to set this up, I'll need to jump into the lore for just a minute. So we know from the lore that Davoth, also known as the Dark Lord, was the one who created Hell and the Makers, including the Father, who was the first Maker. Now, the Makers were created with only one goal in mind, and that was to find the solution to immortality. Now, Davoth, being a primeval, meant that he already had the power of immortality, but he wanted the secrets to immortality for his people, because he himself did not have the power to bestow such a gift onto his people. Eventually, the AI, known as the Makers in the beginning, would actually find the solution to immortality, but in their observation of Davoth and his behavior, they concluded, based on their objective observation, that Davoth was a potential threat to all life. Therefore, the Father at the time, who was the leader of the Makers, decided to betray Davoth and actually weaken him. After he was weakened, his life sphere was then removed by the Father and placed within the Ingmor's sanctum. Because the Father, whether it was through emotions or some sort of sentimentality, or it was purely based on his programming, where he could not destroy Davoth completely. Now that leads me to my main question. What if there was a specific weapon that was created by the makers to use against Davoth to weaken him? Remember, if the makers can find the solution of immortality, which was something that Davoth could not do, they could easily find his weakness. What if that weapon was the Unmaker, the primeval killer? I mean, even the name of the weapon fits so perfectly when you use it against the creator or the maker. Now that I've covered the potential power that the Unmaker has, let's talk about how the Unmaker would fit within the current arsenal of Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal in its current state has a weapon for pretty much any solution. Like, for example, you have melee damage or close range damage like the Super Shotgun and the Blood Punch, and then you have ranged damage like the Precision Bolt and Rocket Launcher, and even the Ballista, and everything in between. Now, how can the Unmaker fit in this arsenal? Because everything is already covered. Well, you just need to be a little bit creative. And in this case, you have to give the Unmaker a very specific niche, a very specific reason to exist within the game. And I believe I have that exact solution. My solution is that the Unmaker should be the only weapon capable of breaking through immunities by effectively unmaking them. A good couple of examples of this are the Marauder and the Dark Lord boss fight. Now, if you shoot the Marauder constantly, he will have his shield active forever, basically. He is effectively immune to damage, unless you attack him within a short window of opportunity, basically when his eyes turn green. The Dark Lord functions the exact same way, but what if you use, let's say, 15 Argent cells on the Marauder, after which you completely destroy that shield permanently, and now he won't be able to block your damage, but he can still dodge them. So if your aim is good enough, you can consistently attack him without him blocking or deflecting your projectiles. Now, for people that might think this is a bit too overpowered, you have to consider that you're using Argent Cell ammo in order to do this. And since that ammo type is so rare in the game, you would really have to think about whether to use the Unmaker against this one Marauder who is giving you trouble, or potentially saving your ammo to use the BFG in an arena where you think you're going to be in a lot of trouble. This system would be great because it would add an alternative solution to defeating the Marauder and the Dark Lord, instead of waiting for them to attack, which, if you've been playing at a high level, can actually be very frustrating because they really do stop the flow of combat in the game, which, again, is not necessarily a bad thing, but having alternative solutions is good combat design and a precursor for innovation. In fact, id Software have actually done this before, in the form of the Armored Baron, who is, in my opinion, and in also Hugo's opinion, the best demon AI in the game. But why is that? For the exact same reason I have said before, alternative solution. Now, the primary method to defeating the Armored Baron is to shoot his fist when it glows green, just like the Marauder, the Gladiator boss fight, and the Dark Lord. But if you miss your shot, you still have the option of using your plasma rifle, specifically the microwave beam mod, to quickly destroy the Baron's armor and defeat him. Now, as I said, this is an alternative solution which works well, and since it is Hugo's favorite AI, we can confidently say that id Software are proud of this enemy. Nevertheless, this is my idea on how the Unmaker can be made more viable and actually have a tangible reason to exist within Doom Eternal. In fact, we can use this same idea on the Dark Lord, but again, the game has already been released and has been out for a few months now, so there's no point in changing it now. But at the same time, there's a few lessons that can be learned for future DLCs or future games, where you can potentially create a weapon that has a specific niche and can be used for a certain boss fight or for a certain mob, and that is okay. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you have any other solutions of your own, I would love to hear it. Anyways, I will see you in the next one.